Hello, good afternoon, everyone, or good evening, whatever time it may be for you. I'm excited to talk to you all today about this wonderful topic of fasting and how important it is for our health and well-being, and just overall general just help with, just our state of mind and our consciousness and our emotions and feelings and, things like that, that it's something that's greatly overlooked in normal societies because it's been something that's kind of been lost throughout the ages of it's something not as common that people don't do as much these days, as the cultures used to do in the past, of course. So, as I wait on people to come on, today I want to just, take a moment to tell everyone that, I'm very thankful and appreciative for everything I have. Just yesterday, we had a tornado come through our local town where we live. And we were so fortunate and thankful that it didn't come close to our house, and it was a moment like that, you never think that something like that can happen in your own local town. And so it just reminds you, because, we're not in an area that, that's very common. So, it just reminds you when things like that happen real close to, to just be so thankful for what we have, because they can be taken away just in a spur of the moment, storm that can just come about. So I'm very thankful, and I have, felt so much sympathy for those that have lost their homes in this storm just recently. I mean, it wasn't real bad. Not too many people got hit hard, but it was, still, it's very sad and devastating to see it happen to anyone, But yes, I just wanted to take that moment to just tell you all to just try to find any ways like that to just be grateful and very thankful for the things we have in this world, But okay, I'm looking forward to getting into this topic because I really do love talking about fasting of any kind. There's just so many different ways to do it that's what made me, think that I would like to talk about this subject with you guys, because there's a lot of confusion around it these days because there's so many different ways people have to do fasting, and so I'm just wanting to talk about it with you guys today to kind of clear up some of the air about it, help you to find a better, deeper understanding, and help you to be able to be firm with your choices in going out there and doing something so out of the normal with so many people. And so many people, they have a tendency to think that, it could be bad, or it could be something that, we're doing, that we're starving ourselves, or there's just so many things you'll hear from people sometimes that don't understand fasting and don't know enough about, the benefits of what it does for the human organism, so. But yeah, well, good. I'm finally getting some people coming on to listen today. Hello, Dawn and Costins and Lisa. Hello, guys. Thank you for joining today. And I look forward to talking about this great subject with you all. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to start going over the topics. I'm going to go ahead and get into it now that I have a few people that have came on. And I hope everyone else that may be interested in this talk today will see that I'm live now, and maybe, come on to watch me while I'm live. But if not, maybe they'll go back and watch the replay later, But okay, I want to get started with it. First thing I said in my little notes over here on the side is want to learn what fasting is and why it is so important for our health, and how it is the opposite of starving like so many people think. See, that's what I was talking about just a minute ago. Is that, you hear so many people out there that don't know anything about fasting, and in their minds, in order for them to wrap their minds around the fact that we should have periods of time where we go without eating any food, that's so hard for some of these people to even understand that that's healthy for us. Because some people are raised up to think that, if you skip a meal, you're going to starve yourself, or you're going to go without nutrients or vitamins or food that you need. And they don't, I guess it's because so many people, especially my experience with some people, is that their parents grew up around the time of the Great Depression, and they always felt and thought that, that we needed to, have plenty of nutrients and vitamins and food always in us so that we could, have enough substance, have enough vitality to keep us going. But see, they were coming at it from the wrong approach because they didn't realize that it's not so much what you add, it's sometimes what you take away from the body to help the body to know how to function better on its own, and it's because sometimes when we overload our body with things from the external, it just complicates and just makes too much trash or complication for the body to be able to function correctly. That's why when you really get into this, health and health journey and understanding the way the body works, you realize that so many things we do, we're just really getting in the way of letting our body do what it's supposed to do. Like so many times with medicine, we treat so many symptoms when really the symptoms are just telling you something's going wrong and that you need to sometimes just let the body be able to work through its own processes. Like, for example, a fever. You shouldn't ever stop a fever. You should let the fever just happen as long as the fever doesn't get too high, of course. But that's what I'm giving you an example of. So many times we don't understand these processes of the body, so we automatically start to have a wrong opinion on the way that we think about these things. So that's why I'm talking about that. So many people, I've even heard my own mom and different people talk about that when I talk about fasting and all the fasting I've done in the past. They automatically think just because you get so skinny, they're like, oh, you're starving yourself, when they don't understand the process. But what fasting is and why it is so important for our health is mostly it's an opportunity to allow yourself to just let go of all attachments and just have a moment that you can go inward and you can just allow your body to have rest. Really and truthfully, to sum it all up, it's the best opportunity you can give your body to just rest and to be able to allow your body to have an inward healing and to allow it to just dump and get out all those toxins and deep emotions and feelings that are trapped in the organism and in our bodies, And so, it's just, again, it's a reminder that sometimes we have to go back and look at the history, the past history. And see, that's one thing I wanted to bring up is that did you know that every single culture in the entire world, every single culture of people in the entire world considered fasting very important, not just for spiritual reasons, but for physical reasons too. And that's why we have to remember it's a very, really, when you think about it, it's a very normal thing for us to experience as a human being, but it's just we've gotten out of that mindset of understanding that it is a normal process of being a human being, and that people think that you're, like I was talking about earlier, they think the opposite. They think if you don't have enough substance, enough nutrition, enough food, you're going to suffer for that. And so it's just about going back to our roots of humans and understanding better on the way these things work, And so I'm going to keep on going, but let's see. I have a few people that have come on. I want to, say hello to them. I see. Well, I'm trying to get my, it won't work for me. Come on. Okay, there we go. Lisa said, hello, Thad. So looking forward to hearing about different types of fasting. Oh, good, Lisa. And then Val is here, Lisa, Grant, Amy, Elaine, Miriam. Hello, guys. Hello, Muriel. Hello, guys. Thank you so much for joining the talk today. And yeah, I'll keep going. I just wanted to say hello to you guys. Okay. All right, I'm gonna keep going. Now I'm going to get into the. Well, first, before I start back on the second topic, I want to first tell you my experience so that you'll understand why I feel like I'm pretty decent at talking about this topic with people, is that I've had some pretty big understanding and experience with fasting, all different types of fasting. I've done juice fasting many different times. I've done several 30 and 40-day juice fast. I've done several I've done a couple. I did one 90-day juice fast, and I did a couple of month and 2 month juice fast. And then I've done several 3, 4, and 5 day water fasting. I've done a week worth of water fasting, and I've done 2 21-day water fast. And then I've done several types of dry fasting. And the longest I've dry fasted for was for 4 days. Well, 2 hours shy of 4 days. So, it's close enough, I guess. So I have some experience, but also to back up that experience, I have read several great books. And that's what I'm going to be sharing with you guys today, too. There's a lot of stuff I want to go over in this talk. So I'm trying to stay on topic and have it pretty packed with information for you, too. I'll show you some of the books I'm going to be talking about today. Here's a real basic one that's a good one for people that don't have a lot of experience understanding water fasting and just fasting. And this is from Paul Bragg, the guy that started Bragg's Vinegar, But this is a good basic one. It has some things in it that are just kind of like, but that's coming from someone, that some good history in the past. And this was back during the time when the health movement was just getting going in a lot of places in the country, back in the 30s, and stuff. And then I do have Arnold Ehret's book, Rational Fasting, but I don't know where it is. I've misplaced it. And I've read that one too. That one's a pretty good one as well. But also I have this one. It's pretty good. The Transformational Power of Fasting. Yeah, I'm going to be sharing a lot of stuff from this one with you today, just shortly. But this one's really good because it talks about all of them, the spiritual, the physical, and the emotional rejuvenation through fasting, And then also, this is a really good one. Herbert Shelton, The Science and Fine Arts of Fasting. This is a pretty thick book, pretty thick one. It's way more like in depth and way more scientific. It's really a deep study of the subject, and it's just really dense. And it has that some of that old way of talking back in the 30s and 40s, somewhat, a little bit, so you have to kind of reread some of the parts to understand it a little bit better. Overall, out of all the fasting books I've read, this is one I would recommend you get out of all of them because it has the easiest understanding and it's just really good overall book. So this is the number one so far that I've read that I would recommend for you to read. But okay, I just wanted to first share that with you, and then I'm going to be sharing more from these books with you in just a minute. I just want to kind of give you an understanding of how. I've done a lot of research on the topic on top of having the experience too, because when I was really getting into it back in the early days, I kept hearing people that I looked up to talking about you need to read these books to really understand what some of the past great people talked about and how it was so important of a thing that we should do for our health, And so I started realizing I needed to research this topic so much more in depth to understand it better, so that I could be able to do these kinds of deep cleansing safely. See, that's why, guys, these books are so important, especially on this subject, is that you want to do it safely and correctly because there is a right and wrong way to do these things. So this is the whole point of also going over this topic with you today. Okay, now I can get into it better. Thank you for letting me explain that to you for a minute. All right, now you want to learn what is the difference in juice fasting, water fasting, dry fasting, and intermittent dry fasting. Well, they're all different types of fasting that's going without solid food. See, that's the number one type of fasting right there. Is just going without solid food. Because when you go without solid food, it really helps your body to get into the deeper levels of cleaning of the body because you're not digesting any solid, fiber and foods. And so that's the first thing that's very important for us to remember. That's why it is good. Anyone that really is getting into the health journey and wants to do something that they can really start to help their body detox at a higher level, I always recommend people start off first with a good juice fast, juice cleanse. Because that way you kind of get your body used to not having any solid food. Because you got to remember, first off, on all these different types of fasting, you have to remember that the body is trying to adjust to you doing these things that it's not used to doing. I remind a lot of times my clients that it's kind of like the riding the bicycle subject or mentality, or analogy. That's the word I was trying to find, the analogy. is that when you first learn how to ride the bicycle, remember, it's a new experience, not only to you and your soul, but also to your body. You know, your body's like, whoa, wait a sec, this is different than walking, you know, and so it's something that you got to remember, that you have to allow the body as well as the soul to get the experience from doing it. Because then the next time you get back on the bicycle, the body's kind of like, okay, I remember that when we did this the other day. So now I'm kind of able to go into it deeper. And then every time you go farther and farther on your journey, your body's able to adjust. All of your bodies are able to adjust much easier to these deeper levels of learning. You know, and so it's just all about allowing the body time to grow at these things, and don't jump too fast into the higher levels before you're really ready, because it can literally rip you a new one in many different ways. And so you want to make this process as enjoyable as you can, you know. So that's why I tell people, give yourself plenty of time to transition up the ladder of the health pyramid so that you can allow the body time to adjust, you know, and all your emotions and feelings too, you know, of being a human, you know. But okay, I'll keep going. Is the difference between, now we're getting into the other types of fasting. The difference between a water fast and a juice fast is, it's obvious, is that you're not consuming anything but just water. And then dry fasting is you're not consuming anything, no water or any food. And then intermittent dry fasting, which I should have listed that before the dry fasting part. Intermittent dry fasting is just where you try to go, like when you're sleeping at nighttime, you try to just do your dry fasting, where you don't drink any water or eat any food, like while you're sleeping, and then maybe in the morning time, right after you wake up, you wait until you eat your first meal or drink your first bit of water till about, you know, like around 10 or 11, if you can, in your lifestyle. And then you stop eating your last meal around about, you know, 5, 6, 7, somewhere around there. You know, that's a good place. But just, of course, everyone in their lifestyles have to adjust that time period a little bit. But most people should be able to dry fast at least 8 to 12 hours, because you don't want to wake up in the middle of the night and you eat anything or drink anything, and you don't want to go to eat something or drink something before you go to bed, and you don't want to wake up first thing in the morning and eat something, you know, because that's kind of, the body's still in that state of just coming, you know, awake and trying to get going. And it's better to wait at least a couple hours after you wake up to eat something, and same thing before you go to bed. At least give yourself 2 hours. That's a good place to start, you know. But okay, and I'll keep going, is the next one I say, want to learn when the best times to do the different types for different results. Yeah, see, that's what's important to, like I was talking about earlier, is to know when the right times to do these different types of fasting, you know, and what different stages that your body can handle these different levels of deep cleansing. You know, see, remember, dry fasting for long periods of time is the top of the mountain. Like dry fasting for 24 hours completely is the top of the mountain, you know, or longer than that. But that's the top. Then below that is intermittent dry fasting. Then below that is water fasting. Then below that is I guess it would be intermittent water fasting, you know. And then below that is juice fasting. And then below that is just mono fruit eating. So remember, you need to get your body prepared for these deeper levels. That's what all of these great people in all of these books, they talked about, that it's very important to prepare the body for these deeper levels of cleansing. You know, you want to do lots of things to get the body prepared, and then you, of course, want to break the fast very carefully and in the right way too. And I'll go over that more, you know, in just a little bit as well. Okay, and also I said also how there is an order you should learn them so your body can get used to proper fasting. Yeah, that's what I was just talking about, you know. Okay, now let's get on into it, because this is where the subject's really going deep now. Is it the next one I say, want to learn what autolytic and autolysis and healthy ketosis is, and why they are very important. Okay, well, this comes to the stage of the talk that I wanted to to tell everyone about the process the body goes through to go when we go on these deeper levels of cleansing, and why that a lot of people, they don't start to have a lot of progress with their health journey until they start to incorporate some of these deeper processes of cleaning in the body. Because sometimes when we just change up the diet, we can have a lot of progress, but we're really just getting a lot of the surface trash out of the way. We're getting a lot of stuff out of the way that helps us to start to feel better. But in order to get down deep, where we can get the body clean enough, where the energy can come back into the tissues, and then the tissues can start to wake up from them being so dysfunctional over the years, or dysfunctioning over the years. And see, that's what people don't understand sometimes about the health journey, is that these organs are so bombarded with trash and toxins and chemicals and pollutants, and they get to the point where they become dysfunctional, and they get where they call them frozen or locked up, kind of. And that's because they get so, remember, you're first in the hyper stages, when your body's first responding to all the trash and the accumulation of toxins. It's in the hyper stage. But then as it keeps being bombarded and being burdened with that trash and toxins, it starts to become hypo. In hypo, you start to lose some of your body's function of being able to respond to those toxins. And then when you're in the hypo stage, it starts to degrade from the chronic to the degenerative, and that's where you're starting to really, the body's starting to lose its response to these toxins and pollutants. So that's why it's important to, find things that help our body to get down deeper, where we can help these organs to come back to the hyper stage. Because remember, that's the healing journey. You got to go from the hypo back to the hyper stage to have the body to be able to come back to where it can help your body to have regeneration. So that's why it's important to do things that helps your body to wake up some. And that's where this book, Herbert Shelton, he talks about what is autolysis, and I'm going to share that with you now from this book, Herbert Shelton's book. Okay. He says autolysis is pretty much what it is it's the body's ability to break itself down, to break down these tissues that are inferior when we go into these deep levels of cleansing, and see, it says, in order that we may comprehend much that it takes place within the fasting organism, it is always necessary that we have an understanding of the process of autolysis, which, although may be very common in nature, has been all but overlooked by psychologists generally. But he goes on and he just says, we have previously mentioned the fact that the vital or functioning tissues of the fasting organism are nourished off the food reserves stored in the body. But as these reserves are stored, the glycogen, fat, protein, all of that, they're in the body. Well, over time, as the body keeps getting cleaner and cleaner, those reserves drop lower and lower. And see, that's what happens when you go into ketosis. The body will start to dissolve or to digest. See, it says the word autolysis is derived from the Greek and means literally self-loosening. See, it's used to help to digestion, the process of digestion or disintegration of tissue. See, it's helping to break this stuff down. And see, that's what I'm getting at. That's why it's so very important to go into ketosis and autolysis, to help the body to be able to get into that deeper stage of cleaning, to help it to break down these pockets of trash and accumulated, obstructions, and mucus. Things are real congested. And until you go into these deeper levels of cleaning in the body, that's why so many people, until they go into these deeper levels of detox, they don't fully initiate these deeper levels of cleaning in the body. And see, sometimes it takes these periods of going without food or glucose or fructose for long enough for the body to go into these deeper stages of cleaning. See, he goes on, he says, he said that he thought this, it was talking about Sylvester Graham, had some concept of the process of autolysis and its use in any disease. He thought that it was a general law of organic life that when any means or form of cause, the catabolistic process exceeded those of anabolism. The body always lays hold of any I'm sorry, like I said, the way that he writes is sometimes it's hard to get get tongue tied, The body always lays hold of and removes those substances which are of least use to the organism. For this reason, he said, all of the morbid accumulations such as cysts, tumors, abscesses, etc. are rapidly diminished and are often wholly removed under severe and protracted abstinence and fasting. So see, that's what they're talking about in autolysis, is that when you go into a deep enough cleanse, you go into ketosis and autolysis, and that helps the body to really go into a state of cleaning. And that's why that sometimes people, they don't fast for long enough to actually get their body to go into this deeper state of cleaning. See, that's why intermittent fasting will only take you so far, because really it takes a good 2 to 3 days really 3 days to go into ketosis. And see, I think that's how long it takes to go in autolysis too. So that's why it's important to sometimes experience and let the body experience what it's like to go into these deeper levels of real deep cleaning. And so that's why I encourage you all to get the experience and let your body experience what it's like to go into these deeper levels of cleaning. And that's why it's very popular these days, people talking about just doing dry fasting. But there's not many people that are dry fasting 3 days or longer. And that's not a good idea for a lot of people, because, see, the deeper that you detox, the more toxins are going to be stirred up. And so you got to get the body clean enough in the earlier stages so that you won't have all of a strong hit all at once. So that's why they don't recommend you doing a lot of these deep cleaning processes until you've gotten a lot of that surface trash and a lot of the old residues from the pharmaceutical the pharmaceutical medications and a lot of those things that have been really highly concentrated. You at least start to clean up a lot of that by just going on a good fruit cleanse and just maybe doing a juice cleanse to prepare again for your body to be able to handle going into some of these deeper levels of cleaning, because you're going to really bring up a lot of that really old nasty trash that's going to be brought up, which you want it to be when you're going in a deeper cleanse. So that's why, again, it's important to prepare yourself to go into these deeper levels of cleaning. But you got to understand, too, in your journey, that if you don't ever, try to rise yourself up to these higher levels, you're going to plateau. That's why we can only get so far on just eating fruits. And that's why we need the herbs and the clays and the things like that to help clean us out. And that's also why we need the fasting. Fasting is just another tool that we can have to help to get deeper to where these pockets of trash are. But also it does many great things. It helps to, increase our our human growth hormone in our body when we fast. It helps to increase the pituitary gland functioning, the master gland functioning. It helps to rapidly clean the skin, and all of the organism just cleans in such an amazing way when you go into these deeper levels of cleaning. And like I said, a lot of times you don't go into these deeper levels until you get past 3 days. And that's why I encourage everyone to try out water fasting, sometimes even more than dry fasting, because you can go into ketosis the healthy way. And that's what I talk about, and say this right there, say also how sometimes they can only be achieved during a long fast over 3 days. But of course, I want you all to remember, though, work yourself up to that level, And then I go on and I say, want to learn why fasting can be one thing that can take your detox journey to the next level. That's what I was just talking about how it can, it can help you to get to the deeper level, definitely. Okay, all right. Well, I want to share a couple of things out of this book with you. I think it's a good moment to share some of this stuff because I really want to get into, there's a lot of really powerful stuff this book has in it. So I want to share some of the things with you in it, and then we'll go on to some of these other topics too. But before I do that, I may have some more people I want to say hello to. Let me just see here for a second. Also, someone may have had a question or something. I hope everyone's enjoying it so far. Let's see. Susan was here. Misha, hello Misha, hello Misha, and then Livia, hello Livia, and then Misha said, who is the author of the fasting book that is green cover? This one right here, this one is Stephen Herod Bruner, and then let's see, then Lisa said, I have the green book, it's great. Yeah, Katie Shaw, Anita, hello, there's Anita, Anita, hello Anita. And Misha said, Thad, I really enjoy your talk. Thank you for sharing your research. Thank you. Well, I'm just now getting into it, but thank you, Misha, for your kind words. Okay, now I want to keep going, guys. I just want to periodically, see the comments you have and the people that may come in and out, But okay, I want to dive into this book. It's really got some really interesting things in it, and that's why I highly recommend you check it out too, because it can really help you to have a deeper understanding of why this subject is so powerful. Okay, all right. The first thing is that it goes into, is it says, all right, I'm just finding where I want to start at. Let's see. Okay. Just bear with me, guys. Okay. All right. Well, first thing is it talks about in chapter 2, spiritual fasting and detoxification. He says, if we fail in the expression of this deeper self, if we do not find the work we are here to do, we find little in this life that can or will sustain us. Physical food alone is insufficient for being satisfied, for being fulfilled, or feeling full. Given the nature of modern life, it's no wonder that the relationship between fasting and the sacred and the reason for which we are born has been forgotten. For the truth that we are born for a reason, that there is something more to the individual life than going to school, getting a job, marrying, having children, having grandchildren, taking vacations, retiring, and dying, has itself been forgotten. That the soul has its own destiny, and that the life of the I that we know as ourselves is only a small reflection of the larger destiny that is not taught in school and very rarely in churches of any religion. And there is no memory or teaching in our culture that is something special that our soul is here to do, that we live in the midst of the sacred, that the fact that there are processes that can help us remember that task and the sacredness of the world is also going to be forgotten. The fact has been forgotten. The fact has been forgotten. Fasting has always been viewed in every culture that has existed prior to contemporary time as an essential act in some time in every person's life for creating an opening into the self, which knowledge of the sacredness of the world and the world of the soul can come. Acts of fasting, especially in important transition periods of human life, adolescence, middle age, old age, and death, have always been recognized as necessary. But he goes on and he says, the seat of the soul is where the inner world and the outer world meets. So see, remember, that's why it's so important. And a lot of people, they're not prepared for these deeper levels of cleaning because they're not ready to go inward more. And that's what makes it so challenging for so many people, is that it really opens you up and helps you to discover who you truly are. But you got to be prepared for that, because it really is going to open you up like a can of worms. But sometimes that's what you need to get to these deeper levels of healing that we all desire, because so many times we're not in connection with our true self so much, and that we got to break all these chains and move all the crap and the trash out of the way to really open up that true part of who we really are, And it goes on, he goes on and he says, he talks about going into the wilderness, because the reason why he talks about going into the wilderness and into the nature is because he says the place where the inner and outer worlds meet has always been located in all other cultures in the same place, in wilderness. Each person who journeyed into the wilderness to seek imitations of their purpose did so in similar ways in all cultures on earth, in all times, and all continents. They went carrying with them few material possessions. Often they went naked. Always they fasted. And he goes on and he says, in the wilderness you encounter only yourself and the powers that exist and that have existed before humans began. Powers that reside in the universe and the earth. In this state, removed from the complexities that usually surround the self in daily life, the soul can begin to overtly work within its own renewal and detoxification. The interstitials drop away. Without these distractions, the barriers between the self and the universe then unfold, and it began to thin. Universe that enfold it began to thin as the hierarchical innate prim dust. I'm sorry, as the hierarchical innate prim dust described it. There is a doorway within our minds that usually remains hidden until the time of death. And it goes on. It says it's a cosmic portal or interface between so-called ordinary and non-ordinary realities. It's a passageway and at the same time a barrier between two worlds. Because fasting brings us so close to death, it also opens this doorway. Slowly, then ever more rapidly, as one fasts in the wilderness, the barrier between worlds thins and opens. The deeper meanings that are embedded in the world begin to penetrate the soul. And a food without which is difficult to become human fills up and nurtures the self. So you become more in touch with what really will fill you up. And that's what he goes on to say, is that he says that some people that have not broken their chains of addiction to food, they're not ready for fasting yet, because that's the thing that's holding them back, is the chains of the addiction. And he goes on and says, deep fasting always involves suffering. It is physically difficult. It is often undertaken because we are suffering in our daily lives and wish to heal ourselves. But on a deeper level, fasting reminds us of the suffering that all of us inevitably encounter during our lives. It allows us to work on the nature of suffering itself, to understand it more deeply, and to connect with the suffering inside of us to a power greater than ourselves. Instead of continuing to avoid the deeper need that our suffering indicates we have, we make the choice to turn and enter the darkness and intentionally engage it. So he's just telling you to go inward. Don't run away from the things you fear. Go inward, And he says, like the physical changes that can occur during bodily detoxification, spiritual detoxification generates its own kind of alternations in the self. As the soul begins to detoxify, many things pass out of us, each leaving an image of itself in particular kinds of thoughts, feelings, and discomforts. And see, that's why it says the important thing in such deep fasting is allow yourself to empty, not only physically, but emotionally and spiritually. See, you got to let it go. Just let go of everything. Don't hold on to these feelings and things that come up. And don't resist that feeling that you need to let it go. It is crucial to allow these beliefs and attitudes to flow out of you and to let them go. And in so doing, to find what and who you really are. It is important to simply observe them, to allow them to flow out without doing anything about them. Cultivating an attitude of unattached watchfulness is helpful. Do you hear what he just said? Cultivating an attitude of unattached watchfulness. You're just observing. That's what I call our true soul. It's just the observer. It doesn't really care what goes on. It doesn't care if you're man or female. It doesn't care if you're big or small or pretty or ugly. It doesn't care. It's just observing and living life however it unfolds. And so that's why we have to remember that is our true self. It's only the ego and the mind that tries to control us and make us feel that we have to fit in some kind of little special box or bubble, when that's just our limiting beliefs and the observations in that current time. And you have to let go of all that to be able to get in touch with that true self of who you are, Allow the fast to take you to its destination, simply observing what happens on the way. When you are empty, you are ready to be fulfilled. Be filled, and you cannot be filled with what you want unless what has been in your way is allowed to pass out. See, that's what people don't understand. In order to have a great fulfilled life, you have to get rid of all that trash that's keeping you from having your heart filled with what you truly desire. And so you got to let go of a lot of things to have that growth you need. The desire for spiritual guidance and renewal, for the touch of the world soul upon you, for the light in the darkness, merely considering it fast, comforts each of us with a powerful journey of the soul. Now, he goes on, and he says, the decision to abstain from food brings up a great many emotions. Fasting casts each of us into the choppy waters of our basic relationship with food. It initiates the release of emotional toxins that we've held on to, sometimes for years. These are often most unresolved family and culture messages about food, love, self-worth, and survival. And then let's keep going. He says, that's when he goes on to say next, he says, our essential truth about fasting is that if your underlying relationship with food is not conscious, fasting is often difficult. See, that's where it goes back to reprogramming the subconscious brain. You got to let go of all these old programming things from our past and learn that you are not limited to those programmed things, that so much of us are programmed from the things that they want us to be programmed with to control us, and that you have to let go of all that old past stuff to be able to let the true part of who you are come out, and to let you have this amazing, beautiful, bright light in your soul that's shining, and it's trying to push out all the darkness. We just keep covering up that by more trash, more toxins, more hard emotions that we're not dealing with, more stress, more just not enough things to let it out. Just let that bright light inside of you just shine so bright that it pushes all that trash out of the way. But you have to work on it in a process so it don't come all out at once. And then you're like, oh, it'll overwhelm you, and so you have to really do it in a way that you can handle it. But he goes on, he says, you cannot fast without challenging your most fundamental beliefs about food and nurturing. If you believe that food is love, stop eating will be experienced by your deepest self as a denial of love. See, that goes back to showing us that when we're addicted to these things and have strong addictions, when we have to remember that when we try to do without these things, it's so hard for us to break those chains because we feel like we're so attached to that addiction. I just remember talking to a guy a couple of weeks ago. He was going through something similar with coffee addiction. He told me, he called me up, or he wanted me to call him up and talk to him about it. And he said, Dad, I'm having a problem letting go of coffee. And it's not just because of the addiction to the caffeine. He said it's all the emotions and the feelings attached to remembering sitting there drinking it and feeling relaxed and enjoying those feelings with others while you're drinking it, and kind of like, those emotions and feelings that are attached to that experience. So that's why these substances become so addictive, is they're addictive on many different levels, and so sometimes we have to just let go of all that and remember that all of these things that happen to us, all these things we experience are not our true self. Like Dr. Morris and all these greats say, stop getting so hung up playing the part of a human and play more of the part of a soul. And the soul doesn't need all of these things. I mean, of course, we do need food and water and these basic requirements to a certain degree, but not to the degree that so many people are used to thinking that's the way of living as a human. So we have to really let go of all this old programming and open up ourselves to the possibility that we have so much more potential. We just haven't let it become expressed yet. So that's why I love to help people to find their true soul of who they are and to see that person becoming reborn, But okay, it goes on, he says, this is a quote. We all have broken hearts. Every single one of us has had our heart broken at least once in our families from the loss and betrayal of a parent. Some have their hearts broken over and over again in terrible ways. When the heart of a child is broken, something inexpressible and up to the moment whole and unquestioned snaps, and nothing is ever the same. We spend the rest of our lives trying to minimize the hurt and pretend it didn't happen, trying to protect ourselves from it happening, trying to get someone to love us the way as that child needed to be loved. We spend the rest of our lives eating or drinking or smoking or working so that we never have to go back there again. We never and never have to feel the unbearable pain of our unbroken hearts. And see, that's what's so sad, is that so many people, we don't realize that the reason why when we were very young children and before we became conscious of things around us, we notice a young child before they become conscious. They're so blissful. They're so naturally happy, giggly, laughy. They just find humor and fun in everything. And I even remember what Louise Hay said about where you can watch a young child go up to a mirror, and he'll go up to the mirror and he'll observe himself in the mirror, and he'll laugh and he'll coo and he'll make all these noises, and he'll look at himself in the mirror with great curiosity. But what happens to a human when they look themselves in the mirror? A lot of times they feel strong feelings and emotions that they're not comfortable with a lot of times. And that's why Louise Hay talked about mirror work is so powerful, is it really, you can look yourself in the eyes, and if you can say to yourself, I love you, Thad, I really love you, and really mean it and feel that warm feeling in your heart, then you know you have something in touch with that true part of you inside, that you have a great potential then to really go far in this world. But if you say that and you feel anxiety and stress and you feel embarrassed and you don't really want to look yourself in the mirror, because she said some of her clients, they would throw the mirror down. Like she would give them a pocket mirror and tell them to look themselves in the eyes and say that. Some of them couldn't do it. They would run away from the mirror, or they would throw it down, and they would start crying because it was something so deep inside that it touched a soft spot. But see, sometimes we need that reminding us that that's what we really need to work on, sometimes more than just what we eat and what we drink and what we do in our lives. We got to find out what's really hurting our souls and holding us back, But okay, I want to keep going. I just love sharing these things with you guys because it brings up things I can think about to tell you too, But okay, let me go to the next point, and because there are several parts in this book is really that good. That's why I have several parts in here I wanted to lightly go over, because there's so much of it I could read to you that. But okay, and he talks about in chapter 4, physical fasting and detoxification. Fasting allows the body to rest, to detoxify, and to heal. During this time, the body moves into the same kind of detoxification cycle that it normally enters during sleep. It uses its energy during a fast, not for digesting food, but for cleaning of the body of accumulated toxins and healing any parts of it that are ill. As a fast progresses, the body consumes everything that is not essential to bodily function. This includes bacteria, viruses, fibroid tumors, waste products in the blood, and any buildup around the joints and stored fat. The result is that the body eliminates its toxic accumulation, just as during a fast, the emotional and spiritual bodies eliminate theirs. And although fasting has always been concerned with both spiritual and emotional healing, it has as well been recognized for millennia as one of the most powerful forms of healing for the body. So see, that's again what I was talking about earlier, what Herbert Shelton talked about in his book, about how it just breaks up all that trash and stuff. But remember though, guys, a lot of times it doesn't do all that on a deep level until you go into ketosis. And that's the next part I wanted to share with you from his book. He says, so when the carbohydrate intake falls nearly to zero for longer than 24 hours. So see, he says 24 hours is all it takes. So that's why I was telling you, it's a window there, sometime between 24 hours and 3 days. But I've really noticed it after 3 days. And that's what I've heard a lot of people say, is it usually takes 3 days. But this person, Mr. Bruner, said 24 hours. He says, so when carbohydrate intake falls nearly to zero for longer than 24 hours, the liver's production of a chemical called glucagon rises. This activity and enzyme in apoptose tissue called lipase, which starts the process of lipolysis, or the conversion of fats to usable ketones. Glucagon's ketogenic and lipolytic actions are inactivated by even tiny amounts of insulin. So see, that's why even just tiny amounts of sugar can interrupt this process of it really digging deeper, This is why during fasting, in order to maximize ketosis, no carbohydrate intake should occur. As a fast progress and as a ketone concentration in the blood remains higher than glucose, the body begins to prefer ketones or fatty acids to glucose as a source of energy. And then it just starts. It says, as the body begins using fat stores and breaking them down for use, they are removed in reverse order. See, that's what, if even Dr. Jensen talked about it. He said a healing process goes in reverse. The disease process goes forward and gets worse and worse and worse. Okay, it says the more recent fat stores are used first, and so on. As these fat stores are broken down, the chemical toxins within the fats are released. Each of these different toxins will have different effects on how you feel. In addition, the associated emotions or reasons you accumulated that particular fat will also be released. He goes on, and he says, let's keep going. And now he gets into a little bit deeper, because I'm trying not to just, read it all. I'll let you also have the joy of buying the book and reading it too. I'm just kind of giving you some highlights, He goes on and he talks about how we can experience great smells and sensitivities. And anyone that's fasted for long enough knows that's true too. And he says right here, smells take on an exquisite layering and can be perceived as composites of multiple chemicals with great depth. This heightened sensitivity extends to how the body responds to the food is offered. Fasting allows you to develop a new and deeper relationship with your body. Your body will begin telling you what food it likes, what foods are good for it, and what food it needs, and what food it wants through the subtle communications that exist in the brain, the VNO, and your conscious awareness. And then going on even more, says, studies have shown that during fasting, endothelial tissue heals significantly and its activity normalizes, especially in those with cardiovascular disease. Talking about, your arteries and your heart and stuff. And it goes on, it says, because the endothelial cell activity normalizes, the endothelial-mediated vasodilation increases. This causes a lowering of the blood pressure. So see, even if you don't have weak adrenals, you can still have a lowering of the blood pressure during fasting, because your body's adjusting its circulatory system and your cardiovascular system to a healthier state. So you don't have to pump blood as strong, and it takes the body a little while to adjust to that. And that's why it says right here, because blood pressure lowers, the extremities often become cold during a fast, and you may feel very dizzy upon standing suddenly, so don't stand suddenly. So see, that's another example of how sometimes, we have to understand when we're going to these deeper levels of detox, we have to remember that. We have to be cautious on how we move around and activity we do. That's why a lot of people they don't understand about why you don't want to do a lot of exercise or any much when you're doing these stronger levels of detox. Maybe some light stuff like a little bit of breathing exercises is always great. Stretching, yoga. Yoga is great because it's also helping the chakras to clear, the energy to come higher. Some light exercises like that are very powerful and very amazing. Maybe a light walk in the woods or something like that, breathing and doing some yoga and stuff like that. And but when it comes to lifting a lot of weights or doing a lot of running, if it's anything that make you feel sore and tired after you do it, that's not really advised in these deeper levels of cleansing, But okay, one more section, and then we'll keep going, that he said in here. He said, while water fast can occur in your normal residential setting, your sensitivity to formerly unnoticed events will increase substantially. Normal background noise of living in a city or town can be highly stressful on a water fast. Family members walking through the room 10 times an hour can be irritating. Television is simply dreadful. Cooking smells nauseating. Perfume and fingernail polish like being locked inside a chemical factory. And the steady hour-long stare of your dog as you lie helpless on the couch, truly infuriating. It can be done, but you will find it much less stressful and significantly more supportive if you find a place for retreat. A wilderness setting or fasting retreat center is often best. That's if you can do it, but some people, they don't have those luxuries. So reason why I wanted to read that to you is not to discourage you, but to help remind you that you can do it. You just have to be aware prepare so much that those things are going to happen when you go in those deeper levels, that you just prepare yourself emotionally and mentally to be able to handle those heightened awareness of feelings and emotions. But also it's a good thing because it helps you to let out those emotions and feelings easier, but you just have to learn how to try to control them the best you can, and just observe them and just give yourself lots of self-love. You got to give yourself lots of self-love during those time periods, But okay, I hope you guys didn't mind me reading out of that for you and sharing that with you. And now I'm going to go on with some of the other topics, what I have over here in the points, listed. First, I want to go back to see if I have any more comments of things from people. Let's see. Okay. Wendy, great book. Love that author. Okay. This sounds like a fantastic book. It is. I love what you're reading. Thank you, Misha. And then Lane's, yes, it is. I have it. Okay. The author is Stephen Herod. No, it's Stephen Herod Bruner. Bruner. Bunhner. Stephen Herod Bruner. But yeah, that's his that's this book that I was just reading all that from you. Okay. Oh yeah, you want me to type the name? Okay, I'll type it down. Write it down here. It's STEPHEN HARRODBUHNER. There we go. All right. And then Misha said, the seat of the soul is where the inner world and the outer world meet. Yes, that's so true, Yeah. Misha said, opens us up like a can of worms. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see, keep going. Lisa said, Don, Stephen, how? Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Lisa. I didn't see that you wrote down. Thank you. Yeah. Misha said, yeah, you're just commenting on some of the things I read, Yeah. And then Don said, thank you, hon. Okay, yeah. And then, so good. Yeah, death is the great way. Yeah, Misha, true bliss. And fasting brings us closer to this. Nature of suffering. He's written lots of interesting books, too. Yeah, he does have some more interesting books than just that one. You have to look into to his different books he has. He does have some interesting things, Yeah, Misha just, she said, I needed to hear all of this morning. This is a great reminder. Thank you, dear Misha. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And then Gary Cousins joined. Hello, Gary. Misha said hi, Star Magic. And then Misha said, Thad, speak it, the truth. Yeah. Okay, guys. Have you heard of the book Fasting Cure? Okay. I'm just catching up with all the comments. Okay, now I'll go back to the topics here. All right. The next one I said is want to learn why fasting can be the one thing that can take your detox journey to the next level, but you have to do it the right way. Yeah, that's what I was meaning about the whole transition process and preparing yourself properly for the fast, and then going through the fast in the right state of the mind and everything. And that's why they talk about a lot in a lot of these books about how doing the actual fast is not as hard as actually preparing for it in the way you break the fast, And then I go on and let's see, yeah, let's see, excited about the subject. Okay, that's pretty much all the topics that I've wrote down to remind me. But just overall, guys, the important thing to remember about this whole subject is that the reason why it's so hard for so many people to really be able to embrace it is because it opens you up so much to your true self of who you are. And some people aren't ready yet to go that deep. Because I talk with people about this all the time, is that they think when they're just going on the health journey that they're just so focused on the physical body. And they just think that we're just trying to help the physical body to get healthier. But they don't realize that you're really helping your soul and your subconscious self to come more to the surface of your life. And some people aren't comfortable with that at first because they're not prepared for it. And so if you tell people when they go onto this journey, if they will prepare themselves in the right way so that they can be prepared for these deeper levels of their soul coming to the surface, and that they can prepare those emotions that are going to come up that they've been stuffing down for so many years. And see, if you can remember one thing that will help you through all of this, plenty of self-love. If you can just open up your heart and allow yourself to love the moments and love these experiences and love all of this that comes to the surface, all these emotions. Every time you feel like crying, every time you feel like being angry and all that, have so much love for the experience that you just let it happen. That you're actually happy that you're mad or happy that you're crying. You're just happy that it's coming out because you've been spending all those years of suppressing it. And until you release it and let it go, it's not really, you're not going to be able to get to the deep level that can help you to really find the success you need. I talk to a lot of people, and that the people that have really opened themselves up and they've been ready for this, deeper levels of healing, they found that it allowed them to really get in touch with someone, to get in touch with their self that they didn't have that good connection with before. And see, it's the same thing as how, Alexandra and Gary and some people have talked about using psychedelics and those kind of things to help us to go inward. And at the same time, Wim Hof talked about using the cold weather to go inward because it helps you to really get in touch with that deeper part of yourself. And so does fasting. And see, that's why all of these things, and when people really, they embrace these tools we have to help us to really go deeper inward, then all the rest of these things we do, the diet, the lifestyle, all of those things are always going to be able to balance themselves out. And see, that's why the more you can work on the harder things to work on, which is the soul and the inward journey, the subconscious, the reprogramming of the subconscious with the conscious mind, positive affirmations, all of these great things that you can do to work on that part of yourself. That's truly what fasting is really going to help you with the most. That's why it's so hard sometimes for people to really go that long without these things, without things that give them comfort like that. And so it takes a while for people to learn to let go of things enough to be able to go inward like that and feel comfortable doing it, because it is going to shake up your life. It is going to turn things upside down. It is going to change your view of the world and the way that you look. And I want to share this part with you too, so it'll help you understand it better. Is the other day I was just randomly thinking about another great post that I could make sometime, and I was thinking about what we're really trying to do on this health journey is we're trying to become the best versions of ourselves we can become, and we're trying to just improve on the versions of who we are, and we have to let go of those old versions of who we were, and to be able to get to the next stage. Well, some people, they're so connected to the things of the past emotionally that they're still they feel torn. They're seeing that how their body is being, and their soul is wanting to go to those higher states of living, but they're still holding on. It's almost like they got a chain to the past and to their past emotions and feelings. And see, when you raise your vibration, as you keep working on cleaning this organism and this body and all of your bodies, when you work on cleaning it up more and more, you're raising your vibration because you're bringing all these electrical foods like the fruits and the all of these things that bring more electricity into the body. As you're doing yoga and different things that help bring electricity through all your chakras and all of that stuff. When you're bringing all that, and again, it goes back to the light that's inside of you. When you bring your energy, it also helps your light to shine greater too. Well, it's going to make it where when you try to go backwards and go to some of those lower vibrational things that you were attached to when you were on that lower plane of reality, then you feel so disconnected to that. You'll actually try some of those lower vibrational foods or things that you used to do, and you won't feel the same joy from them anymore. And that will make you feel kind of sad and kind of like it's an old memory that you had so attached to, that you enjoyed so much, and that when you don't get that same pleasure when you go back and you visit again and you haven't visited it in a while, then you kind of feel sad because you can't have that memory again and that feeling that you had a long time ago. And then you realize that we're so attached to those things, and sometimes we have to just let it go and be okay with it. I remember the first time that I let go fully of cannabis, because cannabis used to always make me feel that way, because I enjoyed the feelings of the way it made me feel, and I enjoyed the conversations I had with people, but I realized it was holding me back from being who I truly can be. And when I let go of that, I felt so liberated and so free, because I didn't have that I kept feeling attached to. Because that was my experience I was just sharing with you guys, that's the way I felt. Every time I would go back and try it again, I just wouldn't get the same satisfaction. And it kept bothering me, making me feel dizzy and all these strong feelings. And so I was like, no, I just got to finally let it go and just keep doing the things that brought me true joy and peace and happiness. And that was things that were much deeper. And it was actually very ironic that when I started to really let go of the cannabis is when I really got into the fasting and just really diving deeper into my health journey. And that's when it really changed. Because the very first time that I did a 21-day water fast, that's when things really changed for me. And I really started making a huge shift, because I truly felt like what it felt like. Because when you really get deep into ketosis, you lose the desire to want anything physically to eat. I mean, you can walk around anywhere. You could walk in Whole Foods. You could walk around anyone doing anything with food, and you won't have any desire, because your body's burning up all your own fat reserves, and it's cleaning house so intensely that you have no desire for anything out there. And now they do say, it talks about in this book again, I forgot where, no, I know where it was. It was in Herbert Shelton's book again. He said, this was another part that I remember just then I wanted to share with you. He talks about how whenever the body, actually the difference between starving and no, it must have been in this one. I just overlooked it. He was talking about the difference between fasting and starving, and I can't remember where it was. I guess I missed it. It wasn't I guess that important. Oh, okay. Yeah, here it is. I just found it now. Okay. He says, starvation, on the other hand, is the use of the body's protein, which is primarily, okay, hold on. It says, he goes on, he says, starvation, on the other hand, is the use of the body's protein, which is primarily in all muscles and organs for fuel. This only occurs after all of the resources of fat and all other excessive thinness and molecules stored in the body, bacteria, viruses, fibroid tumors, stored pollutants, and so on, have been exhausted. Once all other fuel sources are consumed, the body begins to use its own essential proteins for fuel. This is starvation. The majority of people, even very thin, have enough reserves for a fast of a minimum of 45 days. Well, he says 45 days. Most people only go up to 30 days. But he says 45 days, and usually sometimes longer. And then he goes on, he says, as a water fast progresses, the desire for food drops to nearly zero. It will rise again sharply when the body has used up all available fuel resources and to the point of needing to use proteins for fuel. And it says those that have experienced it will report that the tremendous hunger that occurs at this time cannot be mistaken. It is generally considered to be the primary indicator it's time to break a very long fast. And see, that's what they talk about. They talk about when you truly get so deep, and when you really know when to break it is when the true hunger comes back. Not just a hunger like a parasite hunger or a false hunger, but a true hunger that most people don't even know what that true hunger feels like. But you will feel it so overwhelmingly strong that you will say, oh, okay, now I know what that is. I know what people talk about when they say a true hunger returns. And so, again, that's what's learning about these things and learning what true hunger is versus a hunger from your parasite colonies and the things inside of you. Because that's another thing I noticed when I went into these deep levels of detox and water fasting, is that you didn't have any issues with bacteria or candida or yeast or any of those things. But remember, for every week that you do a long fast and go into ketosis, you need at least spend a week of going on juices after you break the fast, or very high water-rich fruits. And then after about the first week to maybe even a week and a half to 2 weeks for some people, depends on how long the fast is too, you may need to slowly incorporate back into more fibrous foods like vegetables and the more denser foods. But then when it comes to the really hard to digest foods, that some of the grains and the starches and some of those things that take a lot of digestion power. You want to be very cautious about that. I'll share with you one of my own experiences. The second time I broke my 21-day water fast, for the first week, I broke it, and I started having a lot of trash coming out right after I broke it, and I was doing lots of juices. And that's another thing I wanted to mention to you guys, is that when you're doing these water fasts and these deeper cleanses and you're going without a lot of fiber, it is important to do enemas and strong things like that to help get out the waste from your bowels, because you're not consuming anything to help get the mucus and the congestion your body's trying to get out of those eliminative channels. And remember, the bowels is always the largest eliminative channel. So that's why I noticed in some of my strong water fast, I would do a water enema, and I would get out lots of big chunks of mucus. And so I do agree that enemas are very important to do during a water fast, or any kind of a strong, longer-term period fast like that, or even a juice fast, because you're helping to sweep out all that debris and trash that's been built up from the fast itself, or that's trying to get it out of the body. And so that's what I'm telling you. When I broke that fast, even though I was doing the enemas, I started having lots more trash coming out for that first week. And that's why they say it's important not to start back eating too high amounts of fiber right after you break the fast, because your body can still be getting out lots of trash. And your digestion is shut down so much that when you go back to eating strong fiber-rich foods, it can make it hard on your digestive system, because it's shut down. It's been shut down for so long that you want to gradually help your digestion to come back online in a slow way. Because when I broke my water fast that time, I waited a week. But the second week, I started back eating foods too soon that were too high in fiber. And one day, actually, I ate too much high fiber-rich foods, and it ended up causing me to have massive pain in my chest in the middle of the night one time. And I woke up and I had extremely bad pain in my chest. And I thought I was going to have to go to the hospital. But then I ended up making myself throw up some of that food that my digestion wasn't ready to digest. And then I was able to recover from it. But I was scared there for a moment. I really was. And my girlfriend was too, because it was a pain that I do not wish on anyone. But it was because I couldn't digest it yet. And it would just all build up. And also another problem I had is I got too carried away and I overate. And that's another thing you got to be very cautious on, because when you wake up that part of yourself that you allow yourself to start having those foods again, it can get very easily carried away. And you can want to really just give in and eat everything. You've got to have lots of self-discipline. See, that's another thing that I learned the hard way, is that you got to have lots of self-discipline when you do these things that are really up there in the higher levels of these games or these methods of way of living. You got to have a lot of self-discipline and know when to do what and when, and to be able to tell yourself, no, go slower, things like that. Or you'll have to learn the hard way like I did, And there's been many times of people breaking the fast the wrong way and it hurt themselves, But okay, let me see what the comments are, from the people. Let's see. This is so true. Let it go. Yeah. Thank you, Thad. I needed this today at the start of another master fast. Oh, great, Athena. Yeah. Just embrace these things, and it can help you, during any kind of cleanse or fast. So just remember these things, guys. And, I've enjoyed talking with you a lot today about this subject, and I hope I covered it pretty well for you. I just want you to remember, use these great books that we have available to us, these great fasting books, and just different books that can help us on these subjects, I even, all these Dr. Jensen books that I always talk about with all of you guys, on the bowel care, and, just books are so amazing. I have so many, these great books, just all on my little desk over here, and just so many different kinds of great books, and just remember that. Just dive deep and read, because some of these people, they have such a great understanding of these topics, and it helps us just really to grow and to learn about these things so much better, But I've enjoyed talking to you about the subject, and I feel like that, I covered it pretty well. I want to leave you with today to remember one thing, is that sometimes just allow yourself to go in these deeper levels when you feel like you're truly ready for it, and just learn to get in touch with that, who you truly are deep down inside. And just learn to have a relationship with your true self, and not be scared to let yourself be fully opened up and allow, everything to come out, and all the things that you want to come and fill you back up after you let all that old trash out. And just most of that you want to let fill you back up is lots of love from source and God, and love from spirit, or love from your soul and yourself and who you are, and all those things. And just embrace these changes and these challenges that we have to help us to learn to grow, and everything will become, better over time. We just have to have a lot of love for the process, but just have patience with these things, guys, and just remember to start off slow and to get experience first with juice fasting, then do the intermittent fasting, then do the water fasting, and then do the dry fasting some. But the water fasting, remember, guys, even though we're so popular with the dry fasting these days, just remember the water fasting could be something that can help you in certain situations even more than the dry fasting, because you can go into ketosis for longer periods of time and than you can on just dry fasting. And that's where, even though a lot of people, they talk about these days about giving the kidneys a break from always drinking lots of fluids. And I understand that, because I've noticed that myself too, but not when it comes to going in ketosis. Is that I noticed I got out more trash and more debris, and actually my kidneys filtered better than they've ever filtered before when I did my water fasting. So I'm giving another example that sometimes, remember what Dr. Moore says, water is the universal solvent. It helps to wash away a lot of trash and debris. And did you know that Dr. Moore's even talked a lot about water fasting before the dry fasting got so popular? He just didn't talk about and recommend it to everyone to do it, because a lot of people aren't ready for it physically and emotionally. They have to really get themselves a lot healthier before they can work up to that stage. So that's why I'm trying to tell you that these are the deeper levels of cleaning of the body, but sometimes they're so greatly needed to help us to get to that which we desire, which is our true health that we really want. So just remember these things, guys, and have experience with it, and try it out, but just be prepared, research, read, study, ask people questions. If any of you have any questions about this great topic, if you want to know more things in details about it, some things I may have not covered today, I tried to cover most everything that was important. This topic is so large, I could talk to you about these things for hours, that I tried to go over the most important topics of it all. And so if you guys have any questions, feel free to message me or contact me, and I'll be happy to help you to learn and to know these things that you still have questions about, But thank you so much for listening to me today. I want to encourage you all to keep going on your journeys, and to keep going within and loving yourself more. And if I can help you in any way, shape, or form, let's see. Lisa did have a question. She said, would a 3-day water fast be a good start? Well, first, learn how to go without 24 hours of food. That's the first place you want to do. And if you've been without 24 hours worth of food, that's like even just drinking nothing but juice one day. That's the first place. And then learn how to go without, with just drinking water for a couple of days, like 2 days. And then go to 3 days. Work yourself up, and then go to 7 days, and then take it beyond if you're ready for that. But that's the way I did it. I first did a couple of days, then I did 3 or 4 days, and then I did a week, and then I tried 2 weeks, and then I went up to 3 weeks. And 3 weeks is the longest I've been able to go. And remember, every week you do it, you get to a different stage in cleansing of the body. And so, because you get to a different level of trash. So that's why you got to prepare yourself for the longer you go. So that's why you want to take it in stages and keep stepping up the ladder and keep working your way up there, But so yeah, just sometime try it for yourself and see what it's like to fully go into ketosis. But first, go into ketosis just on water, and then go into ketosis on a dry fast, and you'll see the difference. But that's something you really got to work your way up to, because ketosis on a dry fast is very intense and very strong and can make you really feel weak. But also, I forgot another thing I wanted to mention for any of you that are still around is what kind of water to drink. I don't know. For some reason, I was forgetting to talk about this earlier, and I just didn't have it on my comments up there. It was something that totally slipped my mind. Is that I say, and what I've read, all of these people, they've talked about distilled water is one of the best because it's so pure and it doesn't have any minerals or any of those things in it. That also distilled water helps to break out and to draw out a lot of the toxins and poisons out of your body easier. So distilled water is preferable, one of the best ways, or reverse osmosis water, but then some people say they like spring water a lot. Or structured water, but some people say not to use the spring water because of the minerals. So that's why I say distilled water is my preferable method of when I do a water fast. And what I say with how much to drink, for those of you that are curious about that, is drink anywhere from a quart to 2 quarts a day, usually. That's usually about what I noticed that was really, and you really go by how your body feels like it wants to drink, and also don't always drink every time you feel like your mouth is parched, because you're going to feel that a lot. Your mouth is going to feel real dry and crusty. Your tongue's going to be coated. You're going to have a lot of strong feelings like that during the fast, and so that's very common for any of those that have experienced that, so that's something. But you can always too just rinse out your mouth with some water every now and then if you need to too. But just don't drink too much water, because then it can make you feel like edema symptoms, like swelling and stuff, or bloating feeling. That's why really just take it easy the amount of water you drink, but don't drink too little water either, because that's not, going to be good for the extended periods of time, So that's to cover that subject. I wish I'd have went over that earlier in the talk for those that were here. I forgot about that, but I guess that was meant for you that were still here listening to me, But okay, well, I think that's pretty much covers it, but thank you all so much for listening to me today. And I really hope that you all have some great experiences with these deeper levels of cleansing and detoxing. And if I can help you in any way, shape, form, or fashion on this journey, please reach out to me. You can also go check out my website. My website's my name, thadcheatham.com. But thank you so much for watching. And till next time, guys, and I hope your journeys to Wellville is balanced spiritually, mentally, and physically. Take care, my friends. Bye-bye. Namaste. Bye-bye.